Welcome to Fat Cat Production of News with a View. Hope everyone's doing okay today. Today is July 4th, 2025. I'm your host, John A. Costa. We are going live and recording this for a later playback. This is going to be a quick show. This is going to be episode 95, I'm pretty certain. If not, I will correct it in right up here. So today we're going to talk about the big beautiful bill. And I promised I wasn't going to do that, but I don't have a choice. There's just so much out there. The left are slamming the tax breaks, and saying, oh, it benefits the rich. And if you look at their paperwork and what they're using as an example, you'd go, oh yeah, look at that. It does do that. But that's not truly the case. The fact of the matter is that the big beautiful bill offers it's percentages of what you earn. So earning determines how much savings you get. So if I'm making $100,000 a year and my tax nut, without any deductions, my final tax nut is 30%, and $100,000 would be $30,000 in federal taxes I would owe. The tax savings for me under that would be about $3,000, 10%. 2.7 on the total nut, on the total amount. I used as an example. If you made $95,000 and paid $27,000 in taxes, you would see a reduction of that tax by about $3,000, which is 2.7% of your tax overall bill. The average throughout the whole scale. And yes, the people making $1 million save a little bit more. But everyone gets a piece of the action. Everyone. The average is out to about 2.7, 2.5 on the overall average tax saving, which is huge. The other thing that this increased by fourfold is your SALT, which is the state and local taxes that were capped at $10,000. And now that cap is going to $40,000. So in states like New York, where I'm using as an example Long Island, where you could be, paying $26,000 a year property tax, you were only able to take off $10,000. You lost that $16,000 tax. Well, now you get that back. So you see a huge increase. The other fact that Democrats don't talk about is that you take out a car loan. Now that you can deduct the interest on that loan. A lot of people don't realize it. It's important. It's important to know these facts. Knowing gives you power. In the big beautiful deal is a provision. The bill also include work requirements for Medicaid and Supplement Nutrition Assistance Program benefits, known as food stamps, SNAP, which could disenroll millions from the program. Now, where this really hit are going to be the illegals, and now what is considered illegal. We really don't know that because if you're not a citizen and you're undocumented here, you are an illegal. If you are not a citizen here, but was recognized as being documented under programs that no longer recognize that documentation, yeah, those people could be out. Those people could be out. No one knows yet how this is really going to work. And I don't know how it's going to work. I don't like to see people lose medical, for children. Will there be a way for these people to buy into the program through the marketplace so they get something? Even if they don't reach their deduction, the hospital gets paid, and whatever, however it works. And again, a lot of this stuff we don't know. And even, and I said this, I am not locked in step with the president. I'm not locked in step with anyone. And my main concern is how one of these bills touch another bill. And if you're going to use this logic, well, the logic over here then dictates that it follows suit. One of the big things that's interesting is the left is screaming, the unborn. Well, you want to protect their citizen rights. Well, then you're going to have to face the abortion issue. If you're protecting the unborn rights to be a citizen, well, first they have to be born then, right? So you can't terminate their pregnancies. The Democrats do not use logic. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know what happened to democratic common sense and values. I don't know what happened to them, but they disappeared. And if you do not get them back, you ain't winning in 2026, you ain't winning in 2028. Understand that. Recognize it. You must recognize it. So what people are saying that the critics of this, the tax cuts are expensive, although estimates vary. Nonpartisan Congressional Budget says the bill would add $3.4 trillion to a debt over 10 years, while the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget said it would add about $4.1 trillion. A conservative, the conservative Cato Institute put the figure as high as $6 trillion. Now, what this figure does not take into effect or account is that if more people are working, if the jobs come back, if Trump can do all the things that he says, this won't affect anything. As a matter of fact, it will be negative. More people will be working. More people will be paying taxes. More people will be off of government assistance programs. Yeah, this doesn't take in for that factor. It just takes in everything that is static. A snapshot of today and carrying it out over the years, not taking any of the other elements the tariffs, it's not taking in any of those elements. And so it's not a true representation of anything other than, and it's not even a ballpark guess. It's bad math, it's bad science. So, the Senate version of the Big Beautiful Bill, which passed Tuesday, also included $6,000 tax deductions for Americans 65 or older. So they're on Social Security or eligible for Social Security, but they're over 65. This is a huge, huge tax savings for people 65 or over. The provision does not entirely end the taxes on Social Security, but it would zero out Social Security tax burdens for about 88% of the recipients, seniors. That's up 64% of seniors who are currently exempt from Social Security, meaning about 14 million additional seniors will benefit from this change. Now, the left also screams, AOC. The tax, the tips. She says $25,000. It doesn't take a smart person to know if you're being lied to with this. AOC, a former waitress, called Trump's move to end tax on tips a scam and pointed out that the Senate imposed a $25,000 cap on the benefit. So if you make more than $25,000 a year, you have to start paying after the $25,000. Right now, you have to pay on everything, which he represents could be canceled out by cuts in health care and SNAP food programs. Well, if you're making $50,000 a year on tips, plus, your $1.89 per hour, whatever it is, why are you on these programs? Because you got 9 kids? If you have about 9 kids, you're going to slip into a safety program. So, her saying you'd be canceled, no, you would not be canceled. Because your first $25,000 is forgiven. If you're making more than that, on $25,000 in a $50,000 tax range would put you in probably 27% range. So if you're going to be saving $3,000 and $4,000 a year on that, well, then you could buy a medical benefit program in the marketplace. You might only be getting $190 a month in SNAP. So that's going to be offset. But you got a tax benefit. And to say that this is a lie, no. What the lie is your math. And she says it right there. She goes, if you do the math. If you're making that type of money, and we know that not every dollar is accounted for. So that's changing because once, people now pay by credit card. They might leave a cash tip. But that becomes subject to, because they'll look at that, the government can look at that and say the bill was $100 and they only left $100. We're going to assume they left a 20% tip. So you got $20 there. I mean, there's going to have to be some accountability here. So, Social Security garnishment begins on July 24th for more than 1 million beneficiaries. Now, what this means that if you owed money to Social Security for whatever reason, or you're collecting Social Security and you owed unpaid school bills, and that's happening, they're going to take money out of your Social Security to pay that bill. Trump signed an executive order that eliminates the use of paper checks by 2025, September 30th. Can't get a paper check anymore. It's got to go into the bank account. And by doing that, the government gets to know who you are. Personal identification methods were improved to reduce fraudulent activities. Updating direct deposit will need to be done in person or online via My Social Security. Former Fiserv CEO was confirmed as the new head of Social Security. Now, Fiserv is a huge computer company, end user server. They are big. Big. And I'm sure that there'll be arguments that Fiserv is getting, some preferential treatment in getting contracts. But I'm sure the government's already using Fiserv, and I know that for a fact that they are. It's based on Dodge, which was created by executive order. Social Security is cutting 7,000 jobs and shuttering some of its offices to lower administration expenses. But arguably, the two biggest adjustments have to do with the garnishment of Social Security payouts to select beneficiaries. Right now there are like 450,000 retired workers who are delinquent on their federal student loans. You're going to be paying. Yeah, but to Joe Biden, he was doing that too. The Biden administration, to reinstate the 100% clawback rate, in which beneficiaries were overpaid, from the 10% clawback rate instituted during Joe Biden's administration. So Joe Biden said, hey, 10% clawback, made a mistake. They didn't lie. Trump is saying, no, you got to pay it all back. The other thing that Trump has done, and I'm just putting this on a timer so I know, has been Congress passes massive changes for student loans. So they're still student loans, but you're paying them. But they're now different rates, more humane processes. The bill introduces fixed loan caps for graduates and parents plus borrowers, eliminates several repayment plans, and institutes a do no harm earning rule for colleges. So, and that's an interesting thing too. It's I didn't read up much onto it, and because that's 62 pages inside a 1,000-page document. So this is very interesting. In there, of course, they have a new Trump account program launched with $1,000 seed contributions to help families begin savings for colleges, a first home, or a small business expense. So they put in, if you put in $1,000, they'll put in $1,000. It's a one-time thing, and it's good for a small business. It's good for a student. It's good for a savings. You don't have to put $1,000 in there each time, but you have to start the program with 1,000, and they'll match you 1,000. Not a bad deal. So, it's the most significant change for school loan programs in decades. And it's not a hurtful program, because the program was always meant that you paid the loan back. School loan programs meant you pay them back. In most instances, some were grants. People did get grants, and people did get free money. It was out there. But for the majority of people, you took a loan and you paid it back. What I always disliked about that program was that you'd take it through the school, but it was through a third party. And the interest rates on those loans were ridiculous. And the payback method, when you graduated, but all that interest is accumulating. So at the end of 4 years or 8 years or 10 years of taking these loans, that loan is doubled. And then is start payable, 90 days after graduating or something. And you could be looking at, $6,000, $7,000, $1,000 per month. And if these people are starting in, you're not walking out of these colleges and for the most part starting a $75,000 a year job. You got to make your way to do that. Not saying that in 10 years down the road you won't be making $200,000. But in the meantime, that loan just keeps growing. And that's where I said, well, if the government was going to get involved with school loan programs, then it had to have been a loan. And the loan interest rates start when you graduate. Or you leave the program. So if you decided, I took this loan out, I was supposed to go to a 4-year school, I only lasted 1 year, and I got X amount of dollars out there, and I leave. I don't go to school, I become a carpenter. Well, that loan becomes payable. The interest starts when you left school. And that's it. If you want to go back to school, well, you must take another loan out, but that other loan has to be being paid. Actions have consequences. But if you're in a program for 6 years and hey, listen, I'm going to a 4-year school, and then after this, my goal is to become a doctor, so I'm going to need 4 more years of college here. That's 8 years. And you could start stacking it all up. But the loan becomes payable at the end of the 8th year of graduation and stuff, and it starts being paid. But the interest isn't accumulating. You borrow $10,000, you owe $10,000. You borrow $60,000, you owe $60,000. But when you leave, that's when the interest starts going. And I know that doesn't sound, right. I can't do that. I can't go to my bank and do that. But this is for education. And there should be something in there that you can do that. And you should also be able to have your employer take money out to pay that loan. Not they pay it, or no matching or anything like that. But where you could say, hey, I know my payment's 100, or 600 a month, but I want them to take $100 a month out every paycheck, and I'll cough up to 200 or 300 or 400 extra at the end of every month. But that gets paid. And, the interest starts on that. So the quicker I could pay that loan off is the less that loan cost me. And that's what you want. You want to reward them for going to school. Not just for being able to have the grades to go into school, but you want to reward them for succeeding. And then the interest rate starts on the loan. To me, that's the way it should be. I think you would get more bang for your buck. There are a lot of people that go to college that should not have, that never had the grades to go to college, never had the smarts, never had the determination in school to get there, yet they think they're entitled to a college education. And then when you go, it has to be something that is beneficial to the majority of the society. Going there to see how Aborigine dancing affects modern Australia. I'm not paying for that. But if you're becoming an accountant or a doctor or a lawyer or a bookkeeper or a business administrator, or in the 4 years I'm just going for, communications, because I haven't decided yet. I don't know. And then there should be, but that should be okay. And then after the 4 years, if you want to go further, it's got to be on this list. It's got to be something that's going to help the majority of the citizens. And if you become a doctor or a lawyer, there should be things in there where you go, if I give the government 5 years of my services, 1 day a week at a clinic, three pro bono cases per year, or whatever, however way you want to work it out, well, then there can be reduction on that. And you've saved the government money. I'm going to work in a VA hospital. I'm going to work in a local clinic, but I'm not going to charge you for it. But the government is going to give you and that establishment, they'll pay their malpractice and whatever. Got to protect the people in the end. You got to have that. So there's ways of doing it where it really becomes beneficial to the government to give student loans, and then have a way for those student loans to be repaid afterwards, or you work on a sliding, you work for us over here, this much of your loan starts going away. Not a true barter system where you barter, but it's something along those lines. And you aren't taxed on that. You aren't you can't take that as a deduction. And it really could work out very, very beneficial to everyone, to the taxpayers, to the students, to the schools. You look at the school cost, the amount of money being charged by schools because they had an unlimited pocketbook. They had, hey, we got people in here that's going to give you $60,000. You didn't have that before. You had people that had to pay $14 a credit. Some state schools, some city schools were, $8 a credit. You get a 4-year degree for under $5,000. So when the minute they started offering a portal to get money, well, then the money grabbing happened. Everyone got a taste at the trough. And some people took a much greater pull from that trough. And that became a problem. So the big beautiful bill is good for everyone but those people that will not be eligible for it. And, folks, Trump said he was doing this. This is not something that Trump said that he was, this comes out of the blue, or this comes, we had no idea. I'm just trying to get this right from my own angle. That we had no idea that this was his approach, and this was going to happen, and, but we knew it. I knew when I voted for Donald Trump that this was his plan. I knew that some of the things that his plans called for could affect me positively or negatively. But overall, it needed to get done. It needed to be addressed. And I was willing to go that route. The Democrats didn't offer a plan. Hopes and dreams are not a plan. And that should never, ever have been a slogan. They could have said, continuing the battle. They could have used so many different slogans. Then this is the party of hopes and dreams. And, Kamala Harris got a lot of freaking money. Over $1 billion. And that wasn't including Joe Biden's money that he got. And America said, no. And this should have been, the DNC should have known that she was a terrible candidate, but what else could they do? They allowed Biden go so far. And then and Biden, who was always touted to be, I'm going to be the bridge for the next Democrat. And then he said, guess what? It's good to be the king. I'm doing so much here, I ain't leaving. And they're like, uh-oh, I thought we had an agreement here. And they had to get behind him, because if they did not get behind him, and he knew it, shrewd guy, that there would have been a revolt inside the whole Democratic Party, and that would guarantee losing the White House and losing the Congresses. So they had to Say, all right, his day ends at 11:45. He goes to sleep at 6 p.m. We wake him up at 8 in the morning. We get him dressed and boom, boom, boom. He does what he needs to do for an hour and a half, and give him ice cream and put him back to bed. Now you tell me that didn't happen. You tell me that didn't happen. They would tell the press at 11:45 in the morning, that's it, we're done. Yeah, no, he's fine. He's fine. He's got a full agenda. He's in there. He's going to be meeting this. He's going to be talking to his administrators. And for 2 years, half these people never even saw him. And I'm glad to see that the only person in his administration that's running around, because everyone else, they're hiding low, is Mayor Pete, who stabbed the president in the back repeatedly. A guy that Joe Biden really didn't want, but said, hey, he's a good fit with the LGBTQ. He's a good speaker, and put him in charge over here. And when all the talk about the president and everything else, you didn't hear anyone running to Joe's defense and going, hey, the guy is fine. And the DNC clamped down on all these people and said, not a freaking word, not a thumbs up, not a thumbs down. If they ask you about Joe Biden's health, you go to the White House. I can't talk about his health. Go to the White House. And then the White House, but you could get on the phone, hey, they're asking me, hey, don't say nothing. I didn't say anything. I told them to call you. Okay, that's good. We'll come out with something. And they hid it. And what was even worse is they denied it. They wouldn't even approach the idea that, hey, we're talking a guy who's 79 years old at the time. Look at what's going on. Look who he's dealing with. Look who he's speaking with. Look what he's facing over here. Look what he's faced walking in after the Trump administration. Whatever. And saying he's doing a good job. Country's running good. Everything's, blah, blah, according to them. And they didn't even really do that. Because the proof was out there the minute they opened their mouth. They go, well, what about this? Oh, we're not going to. No. We're not discussing that. All lies. That's all MAGA lies. And it wasn't MAGA lies. These were concerns we had. And then the debate showed, and even after the debate, I mean, before they were showing snippets of Biden, and he wasn't doing, okay, I get it, 80 years old. I drive down my street, I'm 70-something, I drive down the street, and I go, where the hell are we going again? So I get it. I get it. Am I happy that the best the Republicans could do was Donald Trump? No. I think there was a lot better people out there, but not people that could get it done. There is something about Donald Trump. There's just a confidence that he carries forward that people pick up on a vibe. And some people don't pick it up. Some people just sit back and they go, no, no, I want the giveaway pro. I want this. Give me, give me, give me, give me. And I get that. And I get that. But that can't always be the case. So, all right, folks. I got to call this early because I'm going out with the family. Those watching on YouTube, you'll see this come up. I'll push the show out. But I'll put it the edited show afterwards. And more than likely, I'll have a episode 96 this evening. That will be 2 July 4th programs in one day. Because there's just so much stuff, I could not put it in here. I have to run. I got to be somewhere in like 22 minutes. All right, good night. Give to a charity of your choice. You know my rules. You reach out to that charity. Make sure it's good. Don't become a victim. Helping a victim through an email. Hey, give money to this thing. Don't fall for that. You go to them. Give to a food bank. 4 cans of food. Might not seem a lot to you, but people that don't have 4 cans of food, that's everything to them. Say a prayer. Prayer works. And to everyone, happy 4th of July. Have a safe 4th of July. Love the people around you. We're not going to be here forever. And, we don't know what happens. Life is funny. All right. With that, I am going to, I think, try to fade to black here. We'll see what happens. I might go to my color bars, but I'm not sure. See you later.